Hey, good morning everybody, welcome back. I hope everyone's having a great start to their week. We're still just recovering mostly from our run at the New York City Marathon, so we're still just keeping things light. I'll probably get into the gym and do some elliptical work today, but we do have some exciting images that I guess have sort of leaked out from Saucony, which lays out their whole lineup going into the next year. Things like the Speed Pro, a new trail running shoe in the Endorphin lineup, Triumph, another new shoe for stability as far as I can remember. So a couple of new exciting things that are coming out that are leaked images on Reddit from someone named ChipsAhoy523. So we're going to take a look at those, break down a little bit of what we can see in what looks like maybe like a product buying guide for a store. So we'll take a look at that today. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and jump right into these shoes. And the first one I'm going to pull up is the Triumph 20. So again, this is a Saucony shoe lineup, and the Triumph 20 is a shoe that already existed. The last one was the Triumph 19. So here we have what looks like it's going to be a version of an everyday trainer. There's a 10mm drop from what we can tell from this image. It talks a little bit about some more power run foam becoming a little bit softer as far as the shoe goes, and it looks like it's going to be at about 9.7 ounces. The shoe looks like it's also going to retail around $160. So for those that feel like Saucony's been a little bit firmer with the foam, this could be a good step in the right direction. It looks like they're going to try and soften it up just a little bit. And you know, just from what we can see, it doesn't look like there's any full stack height listed, but again, just a sneak peek at what the Triumph 20 may become in the next iteration. So the next shoe we can take a little bit of a sneak peek at is the Endorphin Shift 3. 3, obviously this is the third iteration of the Shift, and this was introduced with the Endorphin Speed and Endorphin Pro as well, as more of the daily trainer in that 3-shoe lineup. There's not too much we can see on the bottom here of this page as far as the offset. It looks like it may be 4mm, but it's just kind of folded over in the page a little bit. It's also not really possible to see the starting or suggested retail price here on this particular page, again, because it's just folded over a little bit. But one of the interesting things that I do see is it looks like there's a 2mm Power Run Plus sock liner possibly in the shoe. They do talk about a little bit more of a streamlined heel cup. We'll have to see. It does look particularly tall in this image, but again, some of the details on the page just aren't really able to be read. But if you're someone who likes the Shift, it doesn't look like there's any other major changes. It's really just, again, more of the daily trainer in the lineup of those 3 shoes, the Speed, Pro, and Shift. So the next shoe that we see here is the Endorphin Speed 3. The Endorphin Speed is a really popular lineup of shoe. I personally am a big fan of it for track days or other kind of tempo and speed days out there on the roads. Some people are not the biggest fan because they feel there are some stability issues, but that's not really what we're here to talk about today. The first thing that I noticed is they're mentioning a new winged plate shape. I don't know exactly what that means, but there is apparently a change in the plate shape itself within the shoe. The shoe is still going to have a nylon plate, not a carbon fiber plate, but this is in line with previous versions of the Endorphin Speed lineup. It does look like the offset is very similar. We're seeing a 36mm stack height as opposed to a 35.5mm stack height in previous versions. It does look like the weight went up just a little bit from what used to be 7.8 ounces. I'm now seeing what looks like 8.1 ounces on the weight here for the same size. Retail price is going to be the same at $160. I believe that's still what the Endorphin Speed 2 sits at, so no real changes there. So the biggest, I think most interesting thing to me will be that new plate design, and if it really does make any different changes to your shoe or how it feels on foot. They do also talk about a new upper, but I think honestly from the way it looks, at least in the photo, it looks like it will feel very similar to previous versions, even if they've changed and tweaked some of the breathability or fit. That's something we won't really know more of till we have in hand. But looks like it got a little bit heavier. There are some changes. We'll have to see how that actually feels on foot as it comes out in the future. As we continue with that trio I mentioned of the Speed, Shift, and Pro, we now get to the Endorphin Pro. Now the Endorphin Pro to me looks like a fairly decent change, at least as far as what they're trying to do with the shoe. The first thing I noticed is that they popped it all the way up to 39.5 millimeters of stack height, which it wasn't at that 40 millimeter competitive limit in the past. I forget exactly where it sat before, but this is a significant increase in stack height. So we are going to see that get very, very close to the 40 millimeter mark, which, again, is that limit for competitive athletes to actually race in a road shoe. The other thing I see is that it's 7.2 ounces, which is not bad for a larger stack height shoe like that goes all the way up to 40 millimeters. It's not the lightest out there, but again, I think it's a perfectly fine direction for them to go to increase that stack height like a lot of companies are doing and still sit at a relatively good weight of 7.2 ounces. It's going to have a carbon fiber plate, just like the previous versions. It doesn't mention any change like the wing shape as they did in the Speed, so we'll have to see how that, kind of progresses as they come out, but it appears it'll just be a more typical carbon fiber plate within the shoe. They are mentioning the addition of more Power Run PB foam, so they're mentioning a soft cushioned ride along with the propelling and pop of the carbon fiber plate. We'll have to see how soft that actually is. I believe personally that the Endorphin Pro is one of the more firm shoes out there. I don't think they need to change that. I think they have their niche of runners who actually prefer that firmer feel, even though there's a high stack height. But we'll see if it actually softens up at all, because I think some people do hope that it goes in that direction. It could be a pleasing and welcome surprise to a lot of people as this shoe comes out in the future. As for the price of the Pro, we're looking at $225, which is not bad. Adidas has their Adios Pro 2 that sits at $220. So they're just kind of right above Adidas with their super shoe, and they do sit a decent amount below Nike and Asics with the Metaspeed Sky and the Nike Vaporflies, which are $250, and of course the Alpha Fly, which can go all the way up to $275. So if the shoe works out for a lot of people, it's actually on the lower end of the price range for some of those super shoes, which they do hope that the Endorphin Pro fits into that lineup. So the next shoe, I believe, will be a welcomed introduction for some of the stability runners out there, and I believe this is a new shoe from Saucony. They're calling it the Tempus, and what they also say is that it's a super foam fueled shoe with a super foam filled guidance system. So it's going to be based on their Power Run PB foam, which again is the foam that a lot of people do like if you're into the Saucony shoe, but it's also going to build in a Power Run frame, as they call it, which is going to bring some stability elements into the shoe. They say it's going to give you a faster, smoother ride and apparently support your foot upon landing on the ground, and I guess help you through your foot strike without any kind of overpronating issues that you may have if you are someone who has to use stability shoes and tries to avoid a more neutral shoe on your daily runs. It also mentions that it has what they're calling deeper contouring in the midsole, which is actually going to let your foot sink into the shoe, I guess, to some degree, as opposed to sitting on top of it. So they're saying instead of your foot just being on top of the shoe and then laced in, held down, you're actually going to sink in somewhat into the midsole, I guess, and that will help with stability along with the actual Power Run frame, as they call it. To me, it looks like it's more of a daily trainer. They don't specify other than saying that it is built on the super foam, so maybe they are going to gear it towards more of a tempo shoe, like a stability speed. Not really too sure other than, just what they're talking about and what they're using in their phrasing and their word choice. But it is an 8.9 ounce shoe. So again, to me, that's more close to the daily trainer category than something like a tempo shoe, but weight isn't everything when it comes to shoes these days anyway. There is going to be an 8mm offset and a 33mm stack height in the heel, so that's pretty typical again to me as a daily trainer, but it also could be something that fits more of a speedy category. The price point for the Tempus looks like it's going to be $160. I'm definitely excited to see more, just to kind of hear about the shoe and get more of the details and reviews from somebody who would actually need this type of shoe. The last shoe, which unfortunately to me seems like one of the more exciting shoes out there that are coming out, this is going to be a new introduction from Saucony. Unfortunately has the worst photo of the page, and I don't know whoever took these pictures. Again, I kind of mentioned where they came from on Reddit, but I don't know who took the photos, and I don't know why they didn't get a better picture of this particular shoe. But this is the Endorphin Edge. Now this is basically a fourth shoe in the Endorphin lineup. So we had the Shift, Speed, and Pro, and now we're looking at a trail shoe which they're calling the Endorphin Edge. We can't see any of the lug depth for this shoe. For anyone who is a trail runner, you know that the lug depth can vary and be pretty important when determining what kind of ground it's going to be built for. The only thing that I think is the most exciting if you are a trail racer is that it does mention the introduction of a carbon fiber plate, and you can really only see in the image it just says fiber plate 4 and then it kind of runs off out of the picture. So with the lack of everything else that you can't really see in this picture, at the very least it does look like Saucony is going to come out with a somewhat, pretty substantially cushioned trail racing shoe that includes a carbon fiber plate. So with that gets us through all of those, leaked images that I was able to find and that some people were discussing on the running forums and on Reddit. Again, I can only give credit from what I see to Chips Ahoy, who was the user on Reddit who shared some of these pictures. They appear to be some kind of product catalog that, again, would be released to a store so they can start planning out shoes that they would want to order that are going to come out in the future. I'm sure now that these images are leaked, there will be more information coming pretty soon. I imagine if the catalogs were actually going out and these are final products that they're ready to sell, they will be releasing their own information anyway to start to build hype around their upcoming lineups. But I just thought it was interesting to kind of get a sneak peek of what is to come from Saucony and wanted to share that all with you. As always, if you've made it this far in the video, please do leave a like down below. It helps me out a whole bunch in getting this channel off the ground, and I really appreciate everybody who stayed tuned to watch the whole thing. We will be getting back to running very soon. I plan to get out on the trails probably within the week. So please stay tuned for the next video. I know it's a little bit spotty because we've just been recovering after the New York City Marathon, but I do look forward to sharing some more about my training in the upcoming training block, and I just hope to see you all there. So thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Bye.